I've known you my entire life. I've heard all the stories. I've seen all the pictures. I've always heard the story told the same way. I've always heard the story told from other people. I want to hear it from you. As your grandson, I want to know your life. I want to sit with you and I want you to tell me your story.
You caught my eye looking out the window in the corner.
You want to give it a try?
Andris.
We'll do it one word at a time. Andris.
Andris.
Good. Annis
Porietis.
Porietis. Good. Now do all three.
Andris Porietis.
That's as good as I've heard. Congratulations.
Got some Porietis blood in me.
Yeah, there you go. For the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Well, I was born in June 24th of 43 during the German occupation of Latvia. Lived there until fall of 44, at which point my father, who was very much anti-communism, hated communism with a passion, had made the decision, since it was clear Germans were going to lose the war, to move out of Latvia, get us out of future communist control. So he had made arrangements to send the family of four, my mother, himself, sister, and me, to Germany. We were scheduled to get on a boat, and the night before the boat was to leave, somebody ratted my father out, and the authorities went in and removed him. He sent us, the three of us, on. We ended up in a farming community in Bavaria. We ended up staying, I think, a little over 5 years. And we then left in October of 1950, heading for the United States. I remember parts of coming over on the boat, which was a Army troop transport, the USS General Harry Taylor. It took, I think, about a week to cross over. We landed at Ellis Island. We were transferred from there by train to Twin Cities, St. Paul, Minnesota, which is where our sponsors at that time lived. I had a very, very nice life growing up there. My mother worked hard to just support the three of us. Wasn't a lot of extra money. Once we left home and graduated, I tried college. At that time, it didn't work for me. I went back ultimately, mostly night schools, while working at the telephone company myself. But while working there, I met your grandmother, Julie. We started dating in 1967. First date was in January. We got engaged in April and married in October, all in the same year.
When I first met him, I was drawn to his blue eyes, his tall stature, his smile, and of course, I was 19 when we started dating. Pretty impressed that he was born in another country. But then it just obviously grew to so much more. Today, listening to him talk, it just, I don't know, it did something to my heart that just made me just appreciate him so much more, for who he is, because he could complain. And he doesn't. He's just grateful for life.
My mother started to receive letters from my father. The letters started in November 44 when we left. He was captured in 45 and sent to Georgia, the USSR, to a prison camp. He was there for 2 years till 47, when he was released for what I think was good behavior. And I think that good behavior might have been that he was multilingual. He spoke Russian, Latvian, and German, maybe more understanding too of others. And because of that, he was a valuable source for the communists as an interpreter for other prisoners that they couldn't communicate with. In 52, when Stalin died, things started to loosen up a little bit, and he was released again back to Latvia in 53, when the letters started up with my mother.
Aini, a whole week has gone by since I wrote to you. I will repeat a few things from the previous letter. For 8 days, I was with a Latvian unit on the front lines. Now Aina, Many things are clear to me that one cannot get just from reading the newspaper. You have to see it and experience it for yourself, what it's like for a soldier on the front. I'm talking about the troops on the ground, or as they say, in the ditches. They have only one goal: to stay alive.
It also turns out, we just learned recently, that my father apparently wrote some letters directed toward me. He was wondering why I never responded to the letters that he wrote to me. My answer today is I never saw those letters. My mother, for some reason, never shared them. It was in early 2007. We'd been here a little over 10 years. Julie got your grandmother was contacted by Swedish cousins in Gothenburg, Sweden, saying that they were having a Swedish reunion that summer of 2007 and wanted to see how many American Swedish relatives could come over and join the reunion. But it was while we were planning that trip to Sweden where I thought one day, we're so close to Riga, Latvia, where I was born in the city, that I looked in and found that we could fly round trip from Gothenburg to Riga for about $160 each. Well, it was so cheap, I said, when will I ever get another opportunity to go? And your mother heard that we were going, so she joined us. So as the three of us ultimately ended up going in the summer, August of '07.
We made our way and we went to Sweden first and met a bunch of grandma's side of the family and then went over to Latvia, and we just didn't exactly know what we would find or what we would encounter there. And then obviously it ended up to be the greatest.
Just how everything miraculously fell into place, and it became so apparent that this event was going to actually happen.
So after we connected up, we set the day to go down there. I wanted to see the farm, not knowing anything other than this is pictures I have of it.
I think your mom's letter that she has read on film just so explained it. She's a wonderful writer, and it, I think, captured all of the emotions at that moment.
As we drove down the long tree-covered drive, there was a new red car in front of us, and we assumed the new owners. When we got out, Rasma explained why we were there, and they said they were friends from the city coming to visit my grandpa, Oswald, and his wife, Vera. Hearts dropped to our feet. They were in the house. Such a surprise after thinking we had missed the chance to meet him. After seeing the home, we were able to go into Grandpa's room. He was lying on his back with covers, eyes open, looking towards the ceiling. We learned he is blind, mostly deaf, and mentally slipping. So amazing and so sad at the same time. We were there, but couldn't communicate. He will be 97 on December 29 if he makes it that long. Obviously, lots of emotion through the visit. Then went to the living room to look through boxes of old photos, many of which my dad is bringing home with him. As we were looking, Vera suddenly came in and gathered us to go into Grandpa's room. Dad went first, and when we went in, he was sitting up in bed. He had become conscious enough to understand we were there. My dad sat in front of him. My grandpa reached out for his hands, held them, faced him, and said, "I'm sorry," in English. Oh my God. Was shaking from head to toe, literally. Not a dry eye in the room. He held my dad's hands so tight that his poor old hands were purple. We went on to communicate to him with translation from Rasma and Vera. He asked my dad what sports he played when he was younger and continued to hold his hands so tight. My mom then sat with him and he hugged and kissed her, still holding my dad's hands with one of his. Then I got to sit too. He said I was big, was probably picturing a granddaughter to be small. Asked what I studied in school, knew I was now a mom, and he has 3 great-grandsons. He held my hand, had one arm around me, and kissed my cheek 3 times. He would look right at us when he talked, though he couldn't see us. I could feel his breath on my face. Can't even describe what those moments were like for all of us. I'm shaking again just thinking about it. After those minutes, maybe 10 to 15, he then slipped back into a more coma-type state, and we left the room so Vera could lay him down again. What a gift. Amazing that he came to while we were there and could understand the impact of all of it. Oh, that's hard to read. I used to not be able to talk about it without crying, and then it's been years and I have. And I swear reading that through just brought me right back to that room and that impact. And oh, it was amazing. I can't even believe it really happened still.
Closure, yes, especially when the way it turned out. He was obviously hanging on as long as he could. And then once this visit happened, he was a happier man.
I think having that 10 or 15 minutes was like a gift greater than I think we could even describe. So it's amazing how it didn't take much, but it brought so much closure and so much healing. You know, again, from what I understand, for my great-grandpa, for my dad, for myself, grandma, for just, I don't know, everybody in that room.
I think I probably did a little bit back in the days think of when I was connecting up with these three fathers of my friends, you know, maybe thought, what would it be like to have had my own father? But I don't remember ever dwelling on it or feeling sorry for myself.
When we stood outside the room looking in when we first got there, he did have tears in his eyes. And I think to me, and he may not admit this, but I think it changed him. It was such a special gift, and a trip that will never be repeated, ever, anywhere.
This would be okay. I need forgiveness.
What an honor it's been to tell your story, Grandpa. I love you.